There are enough free drink coupons in the world to make up for Southwest's mess. We look at how their outdated technology contributed to the meltdown that ruined Christmas.
We're depending on this massive company with 10,000 pilots to be able to reach somebody via a voice phone call.
Time has run out on Coach and the Clock. This year's new buddy comedy wasn't very funny or very good at football. A small-town newspaper wins its court fight with politicians who didn't like its critical coverage. And CSU researchers have a new model to predict which buildings are most likely to spread wildfires. All that is next. Southwest Airlines has more problematic baggage than your ex, and 15,000 to 20,000 bags of it are sitting at DIA. That's the estimate today by a Denver-based pilot who talked to Next about the airline meltdown that ruined Christmas. Southwest is still canceling more flights than it's flying, and it's expected to continue that way for days. Only about a third of Southwest scheduled passengers today were free to move about the country. The complete breakdown of that airline system has led to those mountains of baggage in Denver. You would think that the huge winter storm coast to coast hit Southwest Airlines alone. FlightAware says Southwest has 312 canceled flights at DIA today. 312. United has the second most, 13. So Southwest can try to blame the winter weather, but then it has to explain to customers why other airlines were not similarly impacted. Our Steve Steger looks at why relatively ancient technology is a much better explanation.
The catalyst was the storm.
Weather will always cause travel problems, but Southwest's meltdown had about as much to do with cold and snow as it did with technology, the company's management acknowledged to employees internally today.
Our COO and CEO actually today, for about the first time, alluded to that fact that this was the cause of it, and it's infrastructure, it's IT infrastructure.
That's Tom McCoy, a Denver-based Southwest pilot and a leader of the union for Southwest pilots. He says they've been warning of an epic fail like this related to technology for years.
We are woefully underprepared in terms of IT and how we deal with this growing network that we have.
Much of the issues with technology revolve around crew scheduling, a phone system for tens of thousands of pilots and flight crews.
In 2022, where we're depending on this massive company with 10,000 pilots to be able to reach somebody via a voice phone call.
The Union for Southwest flight attendants today shared screenshots showing how long they've been on hold.
I think that people will have a hard time imagining being on hold for your job for 20 hours, 17 hours, 5 hours. Often it works, but when it doesn't work, it's catastrophic.
Corliss King is the second vice president of the flight attendant union.
We have asked them to bring our flying and our technology up to the airline we have today. This is not our airline from 1971.
Publicly, Southwest today called their continuing problems unacceptable. And they apologized and promised to get things back on track. The question is, will that be enough?
We're concerned about those return customers now, right? Whether or not they have long memories, especially if you strand them on Christmas, is something that's so sacred to people, whether or not they're going to come back for years to come.
We want to be the airline that everyone loves.
Sure used to be. Now, a lot of this may have to do with the way that Southwest routes its flights. Think about it. They are not a hub and spoke system like the other airlines, where you've got a plane that leaves LaGuardia, goes to Detroit, goes back to LaGuardia, goes to Buffalo. Southwest does it where they'll go from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast with stops in between. That makes it harder when you have bigger disruptions like this. Southwest, for its part today, said that they hope to have things back online and operating relatively normally by next week. They're going to cut their schedules down to a third of what they were supposed to be. And the pilot we talked to today says what you're likely going to see are a lot of planes in the air right now with only crew on them and bags, because you've got all those bags that you've got to get to the other destinations. You got to get them there somehow, and that's probably how they're going to move them.
And it's not funny. At the same time, I mean, as much as people get outraged over stuff and they say, I'm never going to do business with that company again, and then memories are short and people move on and that kind of thing. But man, screw with somebody's Christmas.
I keep thinking about the fact that a lot of people were going to see loved ones maybe for the first time post-pandemic. This is going to stick in their memory banks for a while. The question is, will Southwest be able to overcome it, or will it be a frontier situation where you've got an airline that was once beloved by people here, maybe not so much.
Remember when Frontier had hot cookies?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Uh-huh.
And not anymore. All right, thank you, Steve. Holiday traffic led to your next question from Kristen, wanting to know why drivers on I-70 were left sitting in traffic with the express lanes closed on the day after Christmas. Those Frontier hot cookies, though, like Steve and I remember those distinctly. You remember those hot cookies? They're so good, chocolate chip cookies. They come through mid-flight. Kristen's question was about I-70 traffic. Yes, this is one of our most frequently asked questions, and you bring it up at a good time, Kristen. Express lanes do not meet federal standards for full-time usage. They're too narrow. So CDOT is only allowed to open the express lanes on I-70 for 100 days a year. They reserve those for days with estimated peak travel. CDOT, interestingly, says peak travel does not include Christmas Day. Those lanes are typically open Christmas Eve and the days after Christmas. That's the day Kristen asked about. But there's a power outage that took out the signs that say whether the lanes are open or closed. Apparently, they're back up and running now. I regret to inform you that the show has been canceled. Not this one, not yet anyway. Denver's new buddy comedy didn't even last one full season.
He is a rookie head coach, just learning the ropes. It is a play clock. It tells time. That's his job. Together, this zany duo is Coach and the Clock. What hilarious hijinks will they get up to next? Coach can't get the plays in on time, but Clock doesn't care. Kick a field goal? Punt? Clock is ticking and Coach is ticked.
Remember when clock management was Nathaniel Hackett's biggest problem? Yeah, so we debuted that show and it didn't go anywhere. Nathaniel Hackett's firing ends his head coaching career not even one full season after it began. It's also the end of our buddy comedy, Coach and the Clock. The Broncos' interim coach will be Jerry Rossberg, who Hackett brought in mid-season to help him manage the clock. This is Rossberg's first stint as head coach at age 67. You got to figure at least the clock will not get the best of him. Custer County's elected leaders may not like working with their small-town newspaper, but they have no choice, at least for the next 4 years. Earlier this year, the Wet Mountain Tribune lost a bid to print the legal notices for the town of Westcliff, despite the fact that that paper has a wider circulation than their only competitor. County commissioners voted 2-1 against awarding the contract to the Tribune, saying they didn't want to support the paper because the paper, quote, didn't support the county. Yeah, you know what that means. The owner and the publisher of the Tribune, Jordan Hedberg, filed a lawsuit. He said the vote was retribution for their tough reporting on the county's public health director. This week, the county settled with the Tribune, reinstating it as paper of record for the next 4 years. Hedberg says he hopes this sends a message about the role of local journalism.
There's been a lot of case law in the United States Supreme Court, even in the Colorado Supreme Court, that says governments can't retaliate against newspapers for honest and accurate reporting. And so this is us just making a stand saying, even though we're a tiny little newspaper, we are going to go to the courts, and the courts upheld our First Amendment rights, both as an individual, as myself, but also as a newspaper publication.
As for bad blood, Hedberg says the lawsuit and the settlement will not affect the paper's continuing reporting on government leaders down there. When Colorado went into the deep freeze last week, you stepped up in an incredibly generous way to help a nonprofit that works with people who are living in their cars temporarily. You've raised nearly $120,000 for the Colorado Safe Parking Initiative. That nonprofit has a bunch of secure parking lots along the Front Range where people who are living in their cars have a safe spot to park overnight. They have access to bathrooms, hot meals, help finding housing. That nonprofit recently learned that they would be losing some government funding due to decreasing marijuana tax revenues. So what you have done for this nonprofit in this moment is absolutely huge. Your Word of Thanks microgiving campaigns have now raised $10 million and counting. If you know of a great group that could use our help in the new year, email me next at 9news.com.
CSU researchers say wildfire is like a disease. And some buildings are super spreaders.
They catch fire, then it will go through.
A new model could help communities boost their immunity against disasters like last year's Marshall Fire. A new face joins our list of people not running for mayor of Denver. She has the experience, but she's pretty busy with her day job. And a bookstore pioneer leaves a legacy of fighting for free speech. Next.
We are coming up on the 1-year mark since Boulder County's Marshall Fire, the most destructive fire in terms of property damage in state history. The process to rebuild and repair more than 1,000 homes is slow going. Meanwhile, there's a researcher at CSU working on a model he thinks can prevent that kind of widespread damage by predicting which buildings are at most risk in a fire. There are a bunch of models already out there that try to predict how a fire will spread. They're based on factors like vegetation and wind, but those models are time-consuming and expensive to run. CSU researchers say that they have a quicker and cheaper model that's based on systems we already use to track the spread of disease. The model plots each building in a community and then focuses on the links between the buildings, similar to public health's contact tracing. The model focuses on the area surrounding a building, pinpointing which buildings could turn into super spreaders during a fire.
With COVID-19, it is possible that some specific group of population, they might be like a source that transmits the disease a lot easier than others. There are certain homes that are more problematic. They are causing the entire risk for the whole community to increase. So I really, really need to mitigate these homes.
Isn't that interesting? Researchers say the model can predict which buildings will burn in a fire with about 75% accuracy. They hope that work can be used to prioritize which homes need mitigation most urgently. It can help first responders coordinate their emergency response. For about a year, we have talked about a wolf pack roaming northern Colorado. Well, now there are signs of a possible second pack. Ranchers have told CPW there have been more wolf sightings north of Walden. Ranchers told our partners at the Coloradoan that the wolves they're seeing, they're sure are different than the first wolves spotted in the area. CPW says that doesn't mean that a second pack exists. Confirming a second pack, tracking them would be difficult. Took them a while to confirm the first pack. CPW relies on those rancher reports and pictures that come in from trail cameras. Ideally, they want to collar wolves to follow their movements. CPW says that the North Pack, Colorado's original pack, has killed cattle in that area. 3 of the wolves from that pack were legally shot when they crossed the line into Wyoming 2 months ago. The state released its draft of its formal wolf plan earlier this year. They want to release 30 to 50 wolves on the western slope over the next 3 to 5 years. CPW says those wolves will likely be brought in from packs in Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. That plan is legally required because voters approved reintroducing wolves in 2020, yet voters in urban and suburban areas that overwhelmed opposition from rural areas. Government offices closing for the holidays can mean only one thing. We made it about a week without new mayoral candidates in Denver. But today, Renata Behrens became the 26th candidate. Next, we continue to announce the people who are not running for Denver mayor. Only a few, but we found another.
Because I'm currently mayor of Fort Collins, Colorado.
New York cannot run for Denver mayor. She does not live in the city. She lives in Fort Collins, where she's the mayor, and has a different type of mayoral role because in their form of government, she works with the city manager. Denver has a strong mayor system, meaning that Denver's mayor has more administrative power. Mayor Arndt's advice to Denver's 26 mayoral candidates: consider their impact statewide.
You and the governor are one of the more powerful politicians in the state. So how do you see your role as Denver mayor broader than just the municipality, the Denver city, Denver and county, right?
Our interviews with some of the 26 people who are running for Denver mayor are on the next YouTube page. There eventually is going to be a debate, hopefully on our air. That's going to be wild. That's going to be some Thunderdome stuff. If you live in Denver and you are not running for mayor, but you have a suggestion for what the next mayor should be thinking about, email us at next@9news.com.
And a quick check of your forecast on this Tuesday evening. I don't know where my head is at. We do have high wind warnings all throughout the state from north down towards the south central portion of Colorado. High wind warning with gusts up to 75 miles per hour for Rocky Mountain National Park, for the Medicine Bow Range and mountains of Summit County. Also down towards the south central portion of the state up until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning with gusts up to 85 miles per hour. All right, guys, here comes the snow. Not necessarily for us just yet, but for the mountainous regions from Craig out through Steamboat Springs along that I-70 corridor, and that's why we have winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings to talk about. Winter weather advisory with 6 to 12 inches of snow for Steamboat Springs, Aspen, Gore, and Elk Mountains. Winter storm warning, 5 to 10 inches of snow for the Animas River Basin and the San Juan River Basin. Meanwhile, up to 2 feet of snow possible for the San Juan Mountains, and that includes Silverton and Rico. As we head from this evening into tomorrow, you'll notice a lot of that moisture stays out to the west, and that is up until tomorrow evening. Starts out as rain in the Denver region, then then turns to snow by late Wednesday into early Thursday. And this is how much we're actually looking at when it's all said and done. Anywhere between 4 to 5 inches in Denver, 17 inches though near Telluride, Durango, anywhere between 6 to 12 inches. 7-day forecast not looking too bad, maybe a little cooler thanks to a cold front that's not going to bring much precipitation during the day on Thursday. Temperatures rebound into the upper 30s and lower 40s on Friday, staying in the 40s on Saturday.
Her legacy is in the books.
Everything that we have today was pretty much her brainchild.
Employees and friends remember a pioneer of Denver's literature scene. Next.
When Joyce Meskis bought Tattered Cover in 1974, it's just 950 square feet, a couple employees. By the time she retired 41 years later, she had built Tattered Cover into Colorado's largest independent bookstore. She also earned a reputation as a fierce advocate for free speech, 2 separate Supreme Court cases at the state level, including a case protecting the right to purchase books anonymously. Joyce Meskis passed away last Thursday.
Joyce Meskis was the owner of the Tattered Cover from, I think, 74 until about 2016, and everything that we have today was pretty much her brainchild. I'm very, very grateful to have met her and to have worked with her even for the short amount of time that I did.
So much of Tattered Cover is Joyce, and Joyce is Tattered Cover. She was kind, she was determined, she was fair, she was thoughtful, she was very thoughtful. She was really all about bringing people and books together. And she loved business. She loved the business.
She's the one that started it. She inspired the people that work here to do their best, and it worked. But what I remember most about her is her love of books, but that meant people too.
When I first knew her, I was a customer, and then I didn't know that I would one day work here. She was a great mentor, and she will be missed.
Outside Tattered Cover, Joyce also founded the Colorado Freedom of Expression Foundation, a nonprofit that teaches the public about our First Amendment rights. Your feedback about hot chocolate chip cookies on Frontier and the part of that story that I missed. Next. The most Colorado thing we saw today is an annual tradition, a skijoring, this time in agate. Stephanie Lindsay shared the pic, said that the horse in the photo used to be one of those wild Colorado Mustangs gathered from the Sandwash Basin herd near Craig. If you spot something that says Colorado to you, email to next@9news.com. Okay, about the hot cookies that were on Frontier Airlines. Joe Buchholz correctly notes the fresh hot cookies were a product of the merger between Frontier Airlines and Midwest. Remember when that happened? And Barb Helverson, who used to fly Midwest, adds, Frontier bought them out and did the cookies for about 60 seconds before they started tearing apart the heart and soul of Midwest Airlines. Lots of people apparently like them in their big leather seats. So, funny story, my wife and I are flying Frontier. This is 10 plus years ago. And she always really liked the hot cookies, and I like the hot cookies too. And she fell asleep on the flight, and they brought the hot cookies by. And I thought, you know, she didn't want a cold cookie, right? That wouldn't be right. And then as we're getting off the plane, she says to me, I can't believe they got rid of those hot cookies. To which I said, yeah, that's a real shame. And I've carried the guilt of those 2 hot cookies all these years since. It's fine, she doesn't watch the show. We'll see you next time.